Felicia
From the
Michaels,
moment
my
you hear his
princess,
voice, you
has
know
been
there are
entertaining
going to be
audiences
problems.
with a unique
Joey
style
Coco Diaz has
of
been rocking
provocative humor
comedy
since the
stages for
90s, all right?
15 years.
With her
You've seen him in
tongue-in-cheek,
films and
she's been
television,
exploring
but
such
his
topics
real
as the
patois,
dynamics
as
of
his
the
fond of saying,
male-female
are the
relationships,
stories from
or
his
as we call them
past
here in
and
the
his
studio,
chaotic
dirty
views on
thoughts,
life that will make
and
this
the
podcast
proliferation
a different
of
beat.
the sensual
Raw
feminist.
pain and
She's a little
passion is how to
firecracker
really
rolled up, and that's
describe
why I
this
love her, and that's why
Cuban-born
you're gonna love
New
listening. So
Jersey
tune in, all right?
Animal. Ooh, Beauty and the Beast.
Forget it. We'll go for hours. We're back, bitches. Beauty and the Beast podcast. Felicia Michaels.
Joey Diaz.
You sexy animal.
What?
Episode 33, bitches.
I know.
Moving right along. Felicia.
We like to celebrate the awkward milestones.
That's right. 33 is a fucked up number too. 33 and a third is a good George Harrison album. That was
So that's why we're celebrating 33.
How are you, sexy animal?
I'm good.
You threw me off today because you don't have the sexy shoes on. You got the little running shoes.
You know what? I'm putting tennis shoes on.
I
lately.
seen that. You threw me off. Me off. I like looking at you with clogs on. It just brings out the 7th grader in me. You know
I know. I will never let the clog go.
I love the clog.
I'm one of those bitches.
The clog. I love it. I think it's sexy on a woman.
Yeah.
When I was a freshman in Mr. Ferrara's Algebra 1 class, I had this girl, Lisa Tritches, that always wore jeans. She had a big fucking ass, but she wore clogs. And they were brown with a little belt buckle. She was the cutest little animal in those things. And every time she'd walk, you hear click, 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 click. You fucking go bananas. You understand me?
I can totally understand that.
Clogs are very cute. Some
Clogs
shit from the past
awesome.
still works for me.
Yeah.
I like sexy women's shoes and shit like that.
Yeah. Well, some clogs aren't that sexy, but
no.
I will say I'm not a girl that likes to wear Uggs.
What are Uggs?
Uggs are like these boots that are furry looking.
Those fucking
and
things.
then like they'll wear like shorts and dresses and then like, a pair
Boots,
of muddy looking tan Uggs.
And they just look like they make a girl's feet smelly. Like I got to deal with smelly toes and shit because your
you
feet
don't
are
like
fucking
smelly toes?
Not a woman. I don't believe that they should have kicking little feet. You know what I'm saying?
Do you like feet? Are you a feet guy? We talked about
I like
this.
feet.
You
I
like
like
feet?
looking at them. I don't like that licking and.
You don't like nom 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 nom
No,
little
that's
kisses?
disgusting shit.
Yeah,
I would
like
fucking die
kiss
if
one
I had to
little
lick
toe at a
somebody's
time.
Feet. No, I would die.
And then suck the big one.
No, I would
as
die
you're
if I had to
fingering
lick somebody.
someone.
No, I
and
would
you look
die
at her and
if
you
I had to
go,
lick
"That's
the
right,
top.
bitch! I'm sucking your big toe and fingering you at the
that's
same
nasty.
time."
I couldn't.
I
suck
can
a girl's
multitask.
Foot. I'm thinking of her walking around the wide barefoot and shit. I don't like that stuff sucking on toes.
All right. Well,
But
I just wanted
it.
to make sure.
I love the shape of a woman's foot. It tells a lot about a woman. It's very erotic. It does turn me on when they have flip flops or certain outfits on.
Yeah.
Shoes are the whole thing. I think it does something. I think it goes back. And a lot of guys have said that they like when women have slippers on and shit, a little dirt on the heel, just to get you going. You know what I'm saying? I think in the back of our minds, it gives us that caveman feel. It brings us back that we're going to chase this bitch.
Yeah.
Like, she's barefoot. It's just something about it drives me bananas. What are you driving me crazy for? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't know. I love pretty little feet, and as we know, I do not have pretty little
You
feet.
have pretty little feet.
No, I do not. I have one pretty little feet, and
That's
then
better
like
than
a
nothing.
work foot. I have my work foot, which is hideous. So I hate wearing flip flops. Like for me, buying shoes is makes me sweat because it's like I got to get something that looks sexy, can turn a man on, but it's comfortable enough to run away from a rapist. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. In the back of our minds, I think guys, when we see a woman's foot, we think it takes us back to caveman, like to our natural fucking habitat. Like, look at that bitch's foot. I could just grab it and break it. And she's fucking limping and she's mine.
I hear you. Have you ever got a foot job?
What's that?
Like a hand job, but with your feet.
No. My friend's into that shit, Roger.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he would go into the city. He goes, I don't even fuck the hookers no more. I make them jerk me off with their feet for an extra 20. I was dying.
Oh my God, that just seems like at that point, if you're jerking a guy off with your feet, get a regular fucking job. It'd be easier.
Can you imagine if somebody comes to you and they're like, listen, I want to hire you for an hour. I don't want you to suck my dick. None. I want you to jerk me off with your feet. You have to actually sit there and say, this perverted motherfucker.
You'd have to look for a prostitute with strong looking legs.
But some people, hey man, everybody, one man's chicken is another man's gumbo. I used to work at a fetish club in Seattle. I used to be a doorman, Josh Wolf. I used to run a bar, Lobo Loco in Seattle, and I was the doorman, and it was fetish night. And I would sit there with my fucking jaw dropped. I couldn't believe people wanted cables on their titties and somebody to smash them and spank them. But hey man, some people into that. A lot of fat chicks are into all that shit, you know.
Yeah.
You can't see. You think they're librarians, like, you know, she's just a cute little chubby chick that nobody would touch. This chick will bust it out of the Saturday night. She'll get whips half a fucking fence and wrap it around her, and she'll head down there with those little two tubes on. I just seen it at Scottsdale.
Oh yeah.
It was fetish night when I was there next door. You should have seen this fucking show. You should have seen this shit. It was right out of a circus. But you know what? They're into that stuff. So God bless them. Whatever they're into, you know.
Yeah.
They might look at me and go, look what the fuck you're into. You fat fuck. I understand.
All righty.
What else is going on? We got some great emails this week, Felicia. And I don't know if you have a chance to look at one. But this is where the show gets tricky. You know, I've always said I like speaking the truth, and I like you speaking the truth, because some people are going to go on to this and listen to the hooker story or the thing, the disagreement we had. They're going to shut this off. This show is.
Oh, I know.
This show's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. Yeah, and I think we'll always lose people, but gain new people, and you know.
But when you tap into, we have different people that have tapped into the show, and they tapped into what we're putting out there, which is emotion and the truth and problems in life. You know, they never end. And I like when people call me out. I've always loved it when somebody sees a different angle. The fucking reason why I married my wife, if you want the reason why I married my wife, because one night when I was coked up at 3 a.m, I walked in and she wanted to talk to me about something. And she looked me in the face and she goes, I don't know if I ever told you this. I could tell you grew up without a mother. And that always bothered me. Like, after she said that to me, it made me want to prove her wrong.
Right.
Like, how the fuck? And I was mad for a day, but then I understood where she was coming from. She goes, you don't have that warmth. You know, you have to get that warmth back. And that's all she was trying to say to me. But she called me out, Felicia. And it wasn't a bad call out. She didn't say you're a fat fuck or nothing like that. It was just a friendly call out. And I got an email from Brad Gross from Canada. Fucking tremendous email on the both of us. And he called me out. He goes, you know, you've come to terms with the people you robbed. You know, you come to terms with the hookers. You come to terms with drugs. And you haven't come to terms with your daughter. And why not? You know, you should give it some time. And how do you feel about it?
Wow. I didn't think this conversation was going to go that way.
Yeah.
Wow.
No. This is what I'm trying to say to you. That people are tapping in now. This is when I feel the success of this podcast. This is where the success comes in. Because I need 3 of these motherfuckers. And we could take over. All we need is 3 people that relate with us. And people do. That's why we get emails. And people say, hey, that happened to me, or that story. You know, this week I got 10 stories thrown at me. And they're interesting fucking stories.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you know what? These people have been walking around all their lives like I did. Walking around with this shit inside of you. And here they're opening up to a complete stranger on a podcast because I opened up to them. I put that energy out there. So he called me out. And he goes, you know, break it fucking down. And I thought about it for the last 2 days. You know, well, I read it yesterday morning. And I was running around. It's really weird because a lot of times we get into issues and then 2 days later I got to break them down for you because I'm such a gorilla that I just say it and then throw it away. And if it's important for the viewers to if somebody's asking this question, I want to tell them, and maybe you're curious about it. You know, when you go through a divorce, as Felicia knows, there's an attorney involved. I was a kid that had nothing, and all of a sudden I go to prison. And I come out and I get a job roofing and I get a job curbing cars. I never talked about I curbed cars for a long time.
What does that mean?
Curbing cars is when you buy cars out of the paper and sell them.
Oh,
Quick
really?
profit, 900 here, 1,000 there, and then you can only sell 2 or 3 a year. So I would use I would use your sons. Everybody got sold cars. Come on, here's 300. Put your name on the title because I got to move cars. I did everything I could to prove society wrong, you know. And then all of a sudden she got pregnant and I was making a little bit of money, and I was putting away money, and I wanted to get into comedy, and also she has the kid, and I want to get into comedy, and our relationship was sour. And as the divorce turns out, I never knew. We were such tight friends that I thought we did everything amicably. Well, one day, no matter how tight your friendship is, you get a letter in the mail. Somebody's representing somebody. Now you got to go get an attorney, and they want $2,000 up front, and $110 every time you call.
Yeah.
And it got to the point that I had gone from, I saved Felicia legally, without selling coke, without robbing someone. I saved like $30,000 in 2 years, you know.
Really?
Yeah, I was doing good selling cars and selling roofs. I knew how to do these roofs in 2 days. So I would go to people and I would say, you know, for $2,000, I'll do the roof. I would pay somebody $500. I'd make $1,200 a day. doing a roof, because I knew how to do it real fast. On the weekends, I had a kid. I had a wife. I thought that's what people did. And I put away this money, and all of a sudden I'm getting separated, and I'm giving this attorney $5,000, and every time we got into a stupid argument about hair in the corner, and it really broke me. It broke me as a man. And through all this, I'm trying to maintain a job. I'm trying to maintain a comedy career. I'm trying to get started in comedy. And it was just too much for me. And then it started getting to a point where it started going to avenues where I had never been. And then I went to New York to try to soothe the situation. And I came back, and it was still not improved. And then she took it somewhere where it was below the belt. You follow me? And that's when I lost it. I didn't know whether to shoot her or fucking stab her. And I'm not ashamed to say that. But you have a little girl involved in this. It's a sweet 5-year-old blonde little Cuban girl that thinks her daddy's nuts. We're having a great time. And they took this kid, and listen, I have a lot of faults like we all do. But she turned into your situation. It turned into one of those situations where everybody was laying claims and this is affecting the child. And it was too much on me. And all I wanted to do was just be a father.
Right.
This is my dream, to have a little girl and to raise her. And next thing you know, I'm not getting invited to communions. I'm not getting invited to school plays. I'm in New York fucking stealing with 3 hands now in 94, trying to do comedy, sending money home when I don't even have it, selling coke so I can fucking make money, anything. And I would send little gifts. When you walk in New York, you see little gifts for kids. I would send gifts home, and she would say, I never got them. I could see I send one thing and you don't get it, but after 10 things in a row, you don't get them. I got to write. You get my checks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It just got to a situation where I saw it as a no-win. And I started getting into comedy. I came out here, and in 98, 99, here I am, a struggling comic out here, and she's fucking going after me. I mean, we want you to change the baby's name, but she was doing things and saying things that hurt me. They were very hurtful. You know what I'm saying? And I was just trying to shake them off my head, like, I don't want to deal with this. And that's exactly what I did. Here I was killing myself to send $200, to send $150. I'm fucking killing myself. I'm struggling. I'm driving to San Diego with somebody else. I'm a feature act. I'm a fucking feature act, And I'm trying my hardest. I'm paying an attorney. I got a commercial from Taco Bell. I had to pay an attorney. I didn't have to pay the attorney, but that's the type of guy I am. I sent the money just to be in peace with him. Every time I'd make a little money, Felicia, I'd have to send it out in bulks. Whether it was child support, an attorney, or this or that. And I was getting no respect for it. Nothing from them. I was going to Colorado on my own dime, and, she doesn't feel good today. She fell at the park and scraped her knee. I was getting all this shit.
Yeah.
After a while, it was so hurtful, and I'm trying to do comedy. And it's not like I gave up. I gave the relationship a break, and I figured that somewhere along the line, we would meet somewhere.
I hope so.
And the last 3 years, once a year, I either Facebook her, or I send her an email, or I call. I get no return calls. They have caller ID, so when they see I call, they don't return. They don't leave messages for her. So I tried to Facebook her. She got rid of the Facebook. Did it hurt me? No and yes, because in 99, I had to make a decision. It was either going to be, I was going to fight a long fight to get my daughter and to keep going to battle with this woman, or I was going to live my life. And I chose living my life, because if I lived my life, I could take care of my daughter. If I'd be involved in a fight the whole time, it would block everything else in my life. I wouldn't grow anywhere else. So I figured if I kept living my life, this would all come together little by little. But I have gotten no effort on their end. Until this day, I have to live my life. And every year I'll try to send her a note on her birthday or whatever. And someday if she gets back to me, she gets back to me. If not, what is it that you want me to do? You follow me? What is it that you want me to do? Go kill the mother? Go to her school? I don't want to do that. I don't want to invade her privacy. Obviously she doesn't want to talk to me for whatever reason. The mother told her, whatever got put into her head. I tried very hard to be a part of her life.
She's just not ready.
Yeah, no, that's what I say.
Ready. Yeah, and you just keep sending out little messages here and there, and when she's ready, she's ready. And it was painful for a while. It was painful for years. I can't say it wasn't painful, but I learned to cope with it. Yeah. I'm living a life. I have to put glasses on. I can't have eyeballs in the back of my head going into the past and trying to figure out what happened or whatever. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, look, not everyone's meant to parent when they should be parenting because of circumstances that are within their control and circumstances which they also actively participated in. I mean, And that's just how it is. I mean, it's unrealistic to think that everyone's going to live a harmonious life, and people have to deal with what they have. And I know we've talked about your daughter a few times, and I could see it was a very touchy subject for you. And you know, and I think when she's ready, I think she'll come to you. And by the way, I don't think you're ready. You know what I mean?
No,
I think
I have the answers.
Some
Time.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know if.
I mean, don't wait too long.
No.
I hope she doesn't wait too long.
Listen, I waited 25 years to talk to my uncle. And I got to be honest with you, you know, next to my mother, blood, he was the second in command, you know, and I really loved my uncle. There was something about my uncle I really loved. And today in our relationship, we get along great. Even though I tried to rob him and it was 25 years ago, we have a great relationship. He told my cousin the other day, he goes, you know, it's weird that my nephew is tighter with me than my sons. Yeah. My nephew cares more about me than my sons. That's the type of guy I am. I'm not here in a contest with anybody. But, you know, and I feel the same way. And it hurt me that I was friends with my uncle. It hurt me that I lived in Hollywood. He was on Vermont. Yeah. And here I am on Hollywood and something, and he's in Vermont. And I'm like, really? But I knew in time I'd pick up the phone when I was ready, and now we're fine. I mean, we're fucking fine.
And the thing is, Joey, look how much you've changed as a person, and you're still going through that process. I mean, a lot of people always say to me about the podcast, wow, Joey's really going through a change. You can hear it in the podcast, just talking about things, or, you know, grappling with, you know, because you had a pretty crazy 20 years.
This podcast has been tremendous.
You know what
this
I mean?
Podcast has been tremendous for both of us.
No, absolutely.
For both of us,
yeah,
it's been tremendous. This has been a learning experience.
Absolutely.
This isn't about money or anything.
No,
this is about two people getting together on their own time and reaching out. And, you know, sometimes I ask you about the numbers, and I really don't care, because I know that if 5 people are listening to it.
The numbers are good, by the way.
No, they're always good, but it's weird because I don't care, because I know that the people that are listening to us are getting something out of this. This isn't just
absolutely,
hee type of deal.
And we like it when it's ha ha hee hee, and we enjoy the fuck out
of it.
Oh
yeah, sometimes it got to be ha ha hee hee.
But what keeps us going is the fact that it has, you know, that we are touching people, and people, by the way, touching our lives tremendously.
Oh my God, I read these emails, and sometimes I'm like, wow, that's fucking crazy. Today I wanted to get this out of the way because it's such a good email. And I wanted to stress that people are starting to read us. What's happening? We're friends. We got friends now. We have friends. We have friends. This is better than a Facebook friend.
Yeah.
A Facebook friend we don't know. We know you guys, and we love when you email us. I get Facebooks. I get Hotmails.
Oh, my Facebooks are awesome.
Yeah,
I love when people leave notes on my Facebook, and when they leave, you can leave comments on the website, and some of them are, you know, most of them are so sweet and amazing, and then others are like, you know, come on, figure it out, Felicia, or you know what I mean? Why does Felicia have to talk?
The volume levels. What the fuck?
Yeah, and let Joey say what he has to say, and
we're
it's like,
getting it together
I do.
We're learning here, just like you guys.
Yeah.
So
stop editing it. I only edit when we're like, dude, what do you want to talk about? I don't know.
No, I don't know what we want to talk about. Sometimes we get in here.
I don't get that crazy about it, you know.
No, but I appreciate that Brad took the time to
Absolutely.
read me.
Absolutely.
And I love you for it. And I'm going to send you an email, but I wanted to talk about him. I hope you're not mad for me saying your name. It was a great email, and I really like to give light to the people who are listening to this, because it makes my fucking day.
Makes both of our days. Why don't we give a shout out to our lovely sponsors?
Oh, shit. The T-shirts are up, bitches.
And they really are this time.
That's right. SkinIndustries.com, a leader in athletic apparel. Go give Skin Industries a shot. They got great T-shirts. They got great utilities for your motorcycles. They're just a great company. I got a call from the owner the other day, and it was just one of the most sincere calls I've gotten in 10 years. And he said that he heard great things about us, and that he wants us to be part of the family, and that this is his money, and that he's really going for family, and that we're part of the family.
Very nice.
And instead of us doing this, he made a banner for us, and he wants just for us to get a web page. So when somebody reaches out for us like that, we really want the people who listen to us to support them, you know, in any way
Absolutely.
you can.
And I just want to tell you guys that if you go to our webpage, on the first webpage, on the bottom, there'll be a little Skin Industries icon. If you click on that icon, it will go right to the Skin Industries Beauty and the Beast page, where you can order different sizes, and they take care of everything. Also, you can, when the website comes up, you'll see a little picture eventually with us wearing the T-shirt, and you can click on that, and it'll take you right to that page too.
I'm pale and old in that
We're
shirt.
so lucky we don't have to mail them ourselves.
Fucking beautiful in that picture.
Oh,
You're lucky. You got good looks and shit.
no.
You look good in the dark, bitch. You look good
That's
everywhere.
because I'm so white I glow.
You look very nice, Felicia. Your hair. You have a very nice.
Yeah, I thought I'd comb it today.
You know, it's funny. One of my favorite haircuts of all time is Kim Basinger and No Mercy with Richard Gere.
I agree. I live my life trying to achieve that hairdo all the time.
You don't even know what movie I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
No, you
yes,
don't.
I do. When they were in New Orleans.
Oh, that's
so
my girl.
fuck you.
Come on.
Come on. Come over here, Mr. Diaz. Let's talk about that. That was a good movie, by the way.
No Mercy.
You know why I like that movie? Because they had a rainy sex scene. If you have a rainy sex scene in your movie, that's my movie. You know what I mean?
He smacks her in the face so hard in that movie.
Yeah.
You know that, right? At the bar, she smacks him. He goes, he says something to her.
Get over here before I get yelled at by a listener.
No listeners are going to yell at you.
Yes, they do. They yell. They don't yell. They write really nice sentences that are grammatically correct. They do.
That's a great movie, and I'm happy nobody saw that movie. That came out like in 88, 87. Nobody saw it.
No, I like that movie.
I think
I saw that movie in the theater.
Yeah, every once in a while, people play it on WGN, and it's a great movie. I forget what his name is. The guy stabs the partner, Joey, and then he goes after Richard Gere. Richard Gere gets put in a jail, and he goes back to New Orleans. He goes to Algiers, and they tell him, don't go over the hills. They'll fucking kill you in Algiers and all this shit. And it's just a fucking great movie. Kim Basinger was smoking.
Yeah, she is
Nobody
pretty
knew how to
sassy.
handle that bitch
Holy
in that
kashmoli.
movie. God damn,
Yeah.
she was throwing heat. But there's one scene at the bar where they're cutting the deal. And Richard Gere says, you let a woman go down on you once and she runs your life. And she looks at Richard Gere and just hauls over the bar and smacks him. And Richard Gere takes the smack, looks at Joey, looks at her, and he goes, BAM! And he smacks her back like, here, motherfucker. I ain't scared of no bitch. I ain't scared of no ghost. Let's do this. It was a great scene. Then he goes, I'll meet you back at the hotel. And that's when they killed the partner. Great fucking scene.
That was a good movie.
And they're stuck with handcuffs. That's what it was.
Did what?
They were stuck with handcuffs.
Oh, yeah, right.
And they had to go through the swamps.
Uh-huh.
And she's like,
yeah.
when they shoot you out, I'm going to be dragged to a dead body.
Yeah.
The only street I'm dying on is fucking Chicago streets. You know what I'm saying? Richard Gere throwing some heat.
Yeah, that was
I used
a
to
good
love
movie.
Richard Gere. I thought Richard Gere was the shit. And I went to see this Brooklyn's Finest, and he looks like a fucking bus hit him.
Why?
And, I've always loved Richard Gere. He looks like a fucking bus hit him. He'd be like, go hang out with the Dalai Lama, whatever the fuck he's doing. At least he's one of the guys that didn't go plastic surgery on me.
Oh, yeah. When a guy gets plastic surgery, I get uncomfortable. When a woman gets plastic surgery, I was at the mall, and this old woman, I think I said this before, but this old woman came out, and she was in a wheelchair, and she had plastic surgery on her face, and a nurse was pushing her, and it was like, lady, you know what I mean? It ain't gonna help. You know what I mean? Really?
I am so scared of that shit. I am so scared of needles.
As a woman, I don't know if I would ever do that. Get plastic
It's so
surgery.
tough. It's so fucking tough, What I did notice this week, and I got a lot of emails on this before, and we've never spoken about it. It's 2 words, Joe Rogan. Mm-hmm. And people always email me, how'd you guys meet? I didn't know Joe in New York. I didn't even know who Joe was. Did you do The Dirty Dozen? Mm-mm. Well, that was a dirty show years ago, 94.
On Showtime or something?
Showtime, yeah. The Dirty Dozen, Don Herrera. And, and one night I was in Boise, Idaho at the Funny Bone, and I go back to my room, and I'm looking at this guy, caught the last 3 minutes of his act, yelling with a hat. I'm like, who the fuck is that guy? That guy's pretty funny, and that was it. I didn't know his name. I'd never seen this guy again. Well, hence, you go to the Comedy Store. The first guy I bump into is Eddie Griffith the first night, and I was a fan of his all the way back to like an HBO special he had. I know you're not a fan of Eddie Griffith.
I plead the fifth.
And about a week later, this guy comes in, and about a month after he watched me on stage, and he was from the East Coast, and we kind of talked, and it was Joe Rogan.
Oh, yeah?
And he was on a show, and my girlfriend at the time watched TV. I'm a comic. I didn't even know what a television was. And she's like, he's on news radio. And I thought news radio was a fucking news show. That's how retarded I was. I'm like, what the fuck is a sportscaster doing stand-up? Only in L.A., Mm-hmm. And then the more we got to talking, they're like, no, he's on a TV show, news radio. So I had never seen a show being taped. So one day I said, listen, man, do you mind if I go on the set and watch it, and I went and he put me in the audience and I watched it, and Phil Hartman was fucking brilliant because Phil Hartman did the warm-up.
Right.
Like, I had never seen anything like Phil Hartman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had never seen. You have to see this shit.
What did he do for a warm-up?
He just went up there and he was 1,000 different people, and he smoked a cigarette, and he was free, and he was just, you know, and the guy that did the warm-up, they called him Captain Date Rape because they thought he was going to rape somebody in 5 years. They always had like a running bet on the staff, you know. So that was
the other warm-up guy.
The other warm-up
guy. The other warm-up guy was called Captain
Date Rape. But that's what the staff called him because they thought he was a date raper, right? But it was funny because I watched Phil Hartman. I was just blown the fuck away. I mean, I didn't know he was that good. And then I watched an episode being taped and it blew my mind. So I wanted to learn about this stuff. This is 98. I'm doing spots at the store at 11:15, and, you know, I'm just got here. So one night I go down to the news radio thing, and I go in there like, Mr. Diaz, come this way. You're not even going up in the stands, you know. And we were becoming tighter from doing sets at the store.
Right.
And I get there, and when I'm standing there, they all got chili, and they're all eating. So I start eating the chili. And you know me, I start mingling with people. Next thing you know, there's a bunch of suits, and I'm mingling with them. And before you know it, they have a place in NBC where the audience sits, but then they have a place where the suits sit. All the executives, I'm in that box.
Oh,
and they got
awesome.
shrimp cocktails with prawns, and I'm eating all of them. And somebody went up to Joe and goes, Joe, is your friend the scary guy with a leather jacket? He's in there eating all the shrimp, right? So Joe comes, Joe's howling. He's like, why do you guys come to me when it's somebody scary? What, nobody else has scary-looking friends? So Joe stuck up for me, kind of, sort of. He went.
But by the way, if I just saw you and I didn't know you, I would think you were a scary-looking fellow.
And I had a leather jacket then, like a heavy leather jacket. So Joe was laughing. Like, I thought he would be in trouble. He's like, no, fuck them. Eat whatever the fuck you want. They make a ton of money. And we just became tighter. And I found this respect for Joe because somebody told me what he was making on the show. And he would work all week. If you know sitcoms, you start on Tuesday. And then
it's hard.
It's hard. And Friday after a taping, they would start taping at 6. And that motherfucker would come to the store for his $15 spot on Friday at 1 o'clock. You know, when most people wouldn't even show up if they had a sitcom. Never mind, go do a $15 spot. And I got this respect for him it was a comic's respect. It's really weird when you respect a comic as a comic. It's a great feeling. You really respect this guy. You really want goodwill for this guy. And then he started taking me on the road here and there. You know, he was just starting out too. I remember when I first went out with him, he was making nothing. He was losing money.
Wow.
Like he was taking weeks just to do them and he'd lose money.
Right.
Like he'd call Caroline's and say, you got anything? Yeah, come Friday.
No, sometimes you have to
He'd
do
pay
that.
$1,500 for a plane ticket.
Yeah.
And they would pay him $600. And I admired that.
Absolutely.
I admired a guy that loved stand up for what it was. And like any friendship, you know, we've had peaks and valleys. You know, every friendship, brothers, sisters, friends, we all got to hit
podcast co-host.
Podcast co-host, you know, podcast co-host, friends, whatever. You always have disagreements, and we've had them. And for the first couple of years, I found that our disagreements was because of his hatred for cocaine. One of his best friends died from coke, and he always believed in me, but that cocaine thing always put a thing in us. And then I stopped doing blow a couple of years ago, and he thought it was just a fad. And now that he sees it, our respect is back again. And it's really weird that when you see somebody at one point in their life and you see somebody at another point in their life, Joe's a very handsome guy, and he's never had a problem with women. And I've gone up to his home many a times. And the first time I went up to his home, guys, I got to tell you, I laughed my ass off.
Why?
Because I said, I'm kind of hungry. Do you have anything to eat? And he goes, go in the refrigerator. Guys, when I tell you there was nothing in there, not even a fucking condiment. It was just a refrigerator. There wasn't milk. There wasn't water. That means he ate all his meals out. He was a true fucking bachelor. When I met Joe Rogan, he was a bachelor with a pool table in his living room.
Right.
And you know, a weight room with fucking lats machines in the hallways. And a pool he never went in. A kitchen he never used. And then he meets this girl. And she moves in. And you know, they're a couple. They're a living couple. And she's very nice. I mean, she's very sweet. And then one night he calls me around Thanksgiving or the holidays, and he goes, where are you eating tonight? And I go, you know, anyway. And he goes, come on up. You know, my wife is cooking. At the time, they were just dating. And I went up there, and even that was kind of weird because she has a child, and it was us with the pit bulls running around, the piranha in the living room. Joe used to have a piranha in his fucking living room.
Piranhas used to be big. I used to, when I was a teenage girl, I used to have a boyfriend who had piranhas. And you know what? And he went away and he had his grandpa feed his piranhas, but his grandpa forgot to feed his piranhas. And then when he came back, he, like 2 weeks later, he put his hand in thinking, because if the piranhas are fed, they're going to leave you alone. But the piranhas hadn't been fed for quite a while, and he put his hand in the tank and they all bit up his hand. He had to go to the doctor. Emergency room. God.
Well, this sick fuck Joe Rogan had a piranha in his living room in a big thing. Plus, he ordered a skull online, a human skull, which he put in the fucking piranha thing. And I'm sitting there eating Christmas dinner, looking at this piranha thing in the living room. And I know that his girlfriend's like, I'm sorry. And she cooked a great dinner. But yesterday, guys, was the Pierre de la Resistance. I went up there yesterday to do the podcast. He called me and said, can you do it on Wednesday? So I go up there yesterday. And when I go up there, he has 3 daughters. And the mother, and they're always out. Mm-hmm. When you have 3 daughters, 0 to fucking 14, 3 daughters in that age. I think one's 9 months, and the other daughter's going to be 3 in May. And then she's got a 14-year-old daughter. You're always running. But yesterday, when I got there and they called for me to get in, she answered. And I got to tell you, I was ecstatic to see Mrs. Rogan. I love Mrs. Rogan, for fucking years.
By the way, she should only be known as Mrs.
Mrs. Rogan. Yeah, I call her Mrs. Rogan since day one. When
That's awesome. Yeah.
I used to call her Mrs. Rogan, and his face was just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I start that shit. I love causing problems. That's how you do it. It goes from a thought, and she would be all happy, Mrs. Rogan. And he would look at me like, you come back. But now I go up there yesterday, and I walk in, and she's there. She's got the baby in her arm, and she's got the 2-year-old around her leg. And I go in, they're like, come on, come in the kitchen. And I go in the kitchen, and I'm sitting there with the Rogan family. I'm looking at the yard, and I'm looking at the dog running back and forth, this Malamute, whatever the fuck he's got, that's like 2,000 pounds. And it was so funny because I'm sitting here, and I've known this guy as a bachelor. I've smoked pot with him. I've been on the road with him. But I got to see him for the first time as a father. Now, granted, I've gone up there before when the kids are there.
Right.
But yesterday was mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Because when the baby was born, the 2-year-old, she was just like Joe. Well, guess what? She looks just like the wife. From her toes to her little beautiful little blue eyes.
I'm sure Mrs. Rogan is quite
lovely.
A
knockout.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because he was a dad yesterday. I really got to see. He showed me the pictures on his iPhone and shit like that. And you're like, oh, you're a dad. That's great. But no. What I saw yesterday was the evolution. And it fucked with me all last night. And that's why when I went home and I read the email.
Oh, you know what I was just thinking?
It all came into full.
That kind of seems like that was all related.
And it wasn't sentimental email. Like when I got the email and I read it, it just made me realize what I wanted at one time. That's what I really wanted. I wanted, and you could see that they were happy. They were giggling. They were telling stories. He was giving them a banana and an apple, and we were drinking coconut water. But he's part of a family now.
Right.
And I call him Mrs. Rogan the Supremes because she got the two. And he just looks
perfect.
at me.
That's perfect.
He just looks at me. But my kudos go out to Joe Rogan because I've seen the evolution. And you have to give somebody, when you see that side of a human being, that's the things that I get my dick hard of. My dick doesn't get hard when I see somebody on stage and stuff. That's why I tell comics, if you're going to do a special, don't do a special at you at the weed store and everybody's got 35 minutes. Do a special of what touches you. I want the people on the other side to go, wow, we never fucking knew that.
It is interesting when you know comics for so many years and then you see their family. At first you're like, and you have a family?
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck did you do that? And then when you see them act like everyday people, because that's what they are, you know what I mean? Like, you forget that people have lives,
Very, very interesting. And my heart and my laugh. And I even talked to him last night. He called me on the way down to Sal's. And I talked to him this morning, and I even said it to him again. I go, it blew me away yesterday, your family. Your family was fucking awesome. To see all the girls like that. And I still remember Mrs. Rogan meeting us at the Riviera.
Yeah.
Her flying up to meet us at the Riviera. First time, just walking with 2 guys. Like, fuck it, let's go.
Oh, no, that's what's the coolest thing about a comedy is like, you remember Drake Sather?
Yes.
Drake Sather was a very, very funny comic. He was very dark, and he was a writer. He wrote like half of Zoolander. He was one of the writers on that. And
News Radio.
And he wrote on News Radio.
I think he wrote it. Yeah, he committed suicide.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it's
yeah. It was very unfortunate. But I remember meeting his wife when she was 19 years old. He had done a tour in Australia, and he brought his wife to Chicago, and the limo came to pick us up. And because he was kind of a name, he had done a lot of Letterman and stuff to go. It was the Laugh Factory in Chicago. For a while, they had a club there. And I met Marnie when she was 19 years old, and she still today is a very dear friend of mine. She lives in Australia again. With her kids, and
you mentioned this.
Yeah, she's a podcast, but it's weird how you meet your friends. It's a weird thing, or how other comics unfold to you with their lives.
It was pretty funny because the first night I met her, we were at the Riv, and we had done the Dirty Show, and Saturday night we're sitting downstairs with the guy. I don't remember this guy's name, but what he was known for. He lived in Montana.
Rich Hall?
Rich Hall was working the weekend. So it was a bunch of comics hanging out. And this could only happen to comedians. A blonde sits next to me. Doesn't look that bad,
Yeah.
But in the back of my mind, she's a hooker and she wants money. And I'm getting $200 for 2 shows.
Right.
So I'm sitting there and she starts talking to me and Joe and Harris Pete and a bunch of us.
Oh, my God. Harris Pete.
They get up and walk away. And she's talking to me. And the whole time I could see that her legs are very loose, and she's got a skirt on. So she would do her legs,
fanning her,
and you could see the monkey.
Right.
So finally, she starts telling us a story how she's a transsexual that was working at a show, a nude topless show in Vegas, and they found out she had been a transsexual, and she got fired. So she was suing the casinos, and NBC had given her a deal, and And we're sitting there, you know me, I get a couple drinks in me at the time. I didn't even fucking know. I don't know why I was giggling. I go, let me ask you a question. Show me that fucking monkey. Because she was telling us that she cut her dick off. And I just, you know me, out of the blue, I go, you just show it to me? And I'll never forget, she opened up her legs and she pulled her skirt back. And it looked like a golf hole. You ever go play golf? Those holes that they just scoop in?
Yeah.
Like that's what it looked like. Like they had just sewed her back and cut her dick off and taken an ice cream scooper and just scooped it out.
That's terrible,
and around
Joey.
the hair looked like artificial turf. It looked like fake hair. And I'll never forget that. You could see like the back of the hole. Like it was just a hole with no back. It was just, we looked at each other and we're like, fuck this shit. And then she kept saying, I have weed. Do you want to come up to my room and smoke? And I was like, I don't think so. And she kept, no, come on, let's go. And Rich Hall's like, Joey, I'm not. Please, lady, you got to go. And she's like, come on, I'll show you my money. This was the ugliest thing I had ever seen in my life.
Wow.
We talked about it on his podcast about 2 months ago, about that night with the Vegas. We both forgot about it.
Wow.
We were like, that's right. That's the night that girl showed up and got really annoying, whatever it was. And just showed us that it looked like, I remember I even wrote a joke about what it looked like, but it just looked like a scooper.
Yeah.
Like somebody flattened it, scooped it out,
Jeez
patted
Louise.
it, and just put a little bit of crazy glue hair around it.
No.
Yeah. No. It was fucking a horrible job.
Could you see, like, what was at the end of the scoop?
Darkness. It was just a
despair.
It was just a stop sign. There was nowhere else to go. They just built like a little hole in it.
Wow.
And it was, but you know what, man? I'll tell you what, like, I knew there was something not right. But a couple beers and a couple lines of Coke and the jaw going, things could have happened. She would have showed me that little dragon pit, and I would have said, forget the dragon pit. Suck my dick, and I would have had my dick sucked from a transgender. I can't live with that. I could live with mugging a hooker and lighting her on fire and stealing from blind kids, and little fucking Jews at a bar mitzvah, but I can't deal from getting a blowjob from a guy. That would eat me alive for fucking years. You know what I'm saying? I've done a lot of creepy things, Felicia, but a blowjob from a guy that's a transsexual, that would eat me alive.
Really?
I have to tell somebody, oh my God. Like,
really?
for a guy, listen, if a girl sucked your dick and then after it looked at you and said, my name was Henry before you'd sit there as a guy and just look at him at first for a couple of minutes. I think every guy would just look at him for a couple of minutes and just size him up. And then everything would come to you that you've heard. The hands, look at the feet, look at the Adam's apple. And I think every guy would just reach over and start punching the fuck out of that guy or girl.
No, stop it.
You think I'm kidding you?
No,
I'm fucking kidding
no,
you?
There's guys that do that. But
no, there's guys that do that.
I know.
But if I tricked you and sucked your dick and then told you I was a fucking man, but she didn't even trick me. If I did the coke and got drunk, she wouldn't have had to trick me. At 4 a.m, I would have said, listen, there ain't nothing on TV. You might as well suck my dick. You know what I'm saying?
Look, if you're up and about at 4 a.m. in a club and you get tricked, it should be by a guy that is now a girl.
Well, at least he told me that he was a man. I would have never brought him up to the room or nothing. But think about it. You know, I have a friend that went to a comedy club and met a girl that was one of those things, hermaphrodite.
A hermaphrodite?
Where you have a clit and a fucking cock. And he took the home.
Oh my God, if I had a clit and a cock, there would be fires and riots if I had a clit and a cock. I would fucking make everyone, you'd be sucking my dick right now.
What was her name?
But you wouldn't be lapping at my clit.
I think her name was Nikki, and he said he was all coked up and he kept calling her Tricky.
Oh,
He's like, hey, Tricky. You know, and years later, to this day.
A whore named Tricky.
He fucked this trick. And she was a waitress at the Laugh Stop.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at the time, so.
Tricky.
We start talking about families, and we end up talking about transvestites sucking your dick in Vegas.
I like the name Tricky. I want to call my vagina Tricky.
Tricky.
The girl that had the tricky vagina.
You never know. It might blow up. It might squirt at you. It might wink. Or it might just turn over and go to bed.
That's
you never know.
The best part of doing the podcast is the things that I take away from you. And sometimes...
What things do you take away from it?
Well, sometimes I take away things like, you know, mental note, never wear a wig around Joey. You know what I mean? Mental note. You know what I mean?
No, wigs don't bother me.
Do everything that Joey tells you to protect your house because he was a burglar.
Right. Oh, yeah. If I look in your house and I see... I was going to tell you yesterday, you got too many weeds up in front. They can hide in the bushes. I don't like that shit.
Well, I do that so they can't see into the window.
I need people to see from the outside, just in case they have you hostage with a gun to your head. Nobody can see in the window in the hostage situation.
That's one of the things I take away from you.
And burglars and stuff like that.
And burglaries, and you know how not to leave a trail, and don't do electronic crime because you're always found out because you do leave a trail. And also, you just introduced me to the UFC weigh-in.
What did you think of that?
That was a trip.
Now, the first time I went to a weigh-in, I didn't even know what we were doing. We were doing the man show, and he goes, listen, I got to do a weigh-in. And I went to the weigh-in, I swear to God, the popularity then was nothing. This is 2000, 2003. And there was maybe 30 people at the weigh-ins. Today, the weigh-ins are bigger than the show.
Are you serious?
I'm in Vegas for the UFC, the last one, the Anderson Silva one, and I'm walking, and I was like, what's this fucking line for? And I thought it was a line for like lunch, because you never know in Vegas. This line went for a block. It was for the weigh-ins. They sell out. The weigh-ins sell out. They turn people away. 17,000 people come to the weigh-ins in Vegas.
Wow.
And I've always said, if you don't go to the weigh-ins, you shouldn't even go to the fight, because that's the fight, is the weigh-ins. You go in the back and you see the fighters and you talk to them and you ask questions and you start bullshitting and cracking jokes, and then Eddie would tape a Joey Karate right when we're back there. So the excitement starts at the weigh-in, you know, and that's why I was happy when I seen that it was coming on at 1. I go, I'll be at Felicia's, but I might as well put it on so she could see
how that goes. Well, you know, I met Dana White. I told you. Did I ever tell you I met Dana White?
On accident?
No, when I worked as a photographer's assistant, I worked for this photographer who does like celebrity portraits. And but he's like, you know, did the X-Files pictures, and like he, you know, was that guy. And Dana White, he was photographing Dana White, and Dana White crashed to this wall. But that was way like that like was 2003 or something. And even then, you knew, wow, that guy does what, and what is ultimate fighting, and wow, you could tell that something was going to happen. And that's so crazy that Joe Rogan did that when there were 30 people at the weigh-in. And how many were at the weigh-in to the fight?
This last time, 17,000. They sold out the.
Wow.
Wherever the last one was, the MGM Grand or the whatever, they sold it out. And that's not, they just sell out. The weigh-ins sell out, because afterward the fighters come out and they talk to the people and they sign autographs. When you walk out of a weigh-in, like, people know. Like, I usually stay down below with Eddie, and we wait for the whole building to clear out, and then we walk up. And when we walk up, there's still hundreds of people. And then there's radio stations that are doing live radio shows, so they'll wave you over and they start talking to you. What did you think of the weigh-in? And you have to talk to them, and so that's another hour.
Yeah.
You know, we usually go to the weigh-ins, then we go to dinner, and we go right from the weigh-ins to dinner. The weigh-ins are at 4. We don't get to dinner till 6:30. It takes us 2 hours to walk from the stadium to Skirt Steak, and it's a 2-second walk.
Wow.
Because there's so many people, and it's really neat. I think it's really neat.
That was a pretty cool thing. Thank you for showing me that. I have never been to a live UFC event, and I would so love to go to a live UFC event. But I want it to be a good one, because I want to.
Yeah, like this one would have been a good one.
I want it to be a fun one.
Like, if you could get a plane ticket tomorrow to go to New York, you could go. There's a ticket available.
Oh, really?
If you get on a plane tomorrow morning, I'm going to
go with you, though.
I'm going tomorrow night, 6:50. I'm catching the 6:50. This is what happened. This is what the problem is. Joe gets a certain amount of tickets per show. And I'm always embarrassed to go, Joe, can I have a ticket for me and a friend? Because he's such a good guy. And he tells me, like, you know, when you're friends with somebody, they tell you the intimate secrets. And he's like, you know, it's so weird how people who don't even know me ask me for tickets. It's so rude, you know? And people just don't ask for one ticket. They'll call and say, I need 4 tickets. He's like, listen, bro, you got 1. You know, and people get mad. Like, people actually get mad. So for me hearing this comment, like, I don't go to the ones in L.A., and he gets mad at me. He's like, Joey, there's a ticket for you. And I'm like, bro, there's 20 people calling you. Give them the tickets. I go to all the other ones with you.
Right.
You know, I go to all the ones in Vegas, and I'm like,
well,
King.
get the tickets and take me.
But here's the problem. If you ask him, he gets mad. So you can't ask him. So when I found out I was going to be in New Jersey this time, he came up to me. He's like, Ari says you're going to be in New Jersey. What are you going to do Friday night? Come by and do the show. I'll pay you. And I'm like, it's not about the money. I just couldn't get a cheaper plane ticket. He goes, what are you doing Saturday? And I go, I'm going to be with my family. He goes, bro, come to the fight. And I go, I got my family. He goes, I'll get one of them a ticket. If I give you 2 tickets, will you come to the fight? And I was like, Joe, you know, I'm going home. So that means when you go to Vegas, you're lazy. You just go out of the elevator and go to the fight. Now I got to drive from North Bergen to Newark and
now it's
on the way.
Now it's a job.
But it isn't really because it's like 15 minutes and it's going to be fun. If you get a cheap plane ticket, you got a ticket tomorrow. I know. It's just, it's very interesting how we've sat here. Like I've sat here and watched it because I wasn't a fan of it in the beginning. I became a fan like in 2005, maybe I became a fan. I started getting into it 2006. I watched Anderson Silva and I was like, this is some fucking real shit.
You know, I do a joke about the UFC.
I know.
I do this, I'm just going to say it. I do this joke about sticking a finger up a man's ass because you men are always trying to stick your fingers up our ass. And I will stick a finger up a man's ass. I mean, I do it with gusto. I'll stick 2 fingers up a man's ass and then I pretend they're ultimate fighting champs. And then I'll stick in a 3rd finger and it'll be Dana White and he'll start reffing it. And terrible. That joke kills.
It kills.
It kills.
People love it because they see a broad doing a UFC joke. They like men get, oh my God, you watch it. That's why I wanted you to watch it today because, I don't know, it was just something different. It's very entertaining. And at first you're like, weigh-ins, Joey, what the fuck? How disgusting are you? But once you go to him and you start watching.
It is weird, like that little dude that had on the regular underwear when he weighed in. Like, dude, really?
Well, it's so weird how they have to take the jeans off. And just go up there naked. What's all this drama? Like, it's in a striptease.
Because they're making money, right? Everything they wear.
You're right. That's why. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I just go up there with underwear on. I got to take my clothes off.
They shouldn't do the pants thing because no one can take their pants off and make that look good. Like Barack Obama can't take his pants off. No one can take pants off and make it look smooth. That taking your pants off, just have you ever seen someone that took their pants off and made it look smooth?
If a girl takes them off, but not a guy. No guy ever takes his pants off smooth. Yeah. We could kick him the fuck around. We got work to do and shit.
I can't take my pants off smooth.
No, but it was pretty interesting.
But I can lift my skirt gently and efficiently.
Did Playboy Radio this morning.
Speaking of.
And it was very weird because a chef came on. And he cooked this food with marijuana. Like his specialty is just to cook for rich people who want to cook with marijuana. He comes to your house and he does a 5-course meal. Chef Fred from San Francisco. He does a 5-course meal, in your house. And it's not some guy that looks like fucking Jerry Garcia with a beard and shit. He's a chef with the hat and the suit and the assistant.
So he'll make a whole meal and everything in the meal has weed?
Everything.
Holy shit.
And he'll do it like, let's say today he made frittatas, vegetable frittatas. He puts weed in the eggs. He puts weed in the vegetables as they're cooking. You can see when he takes the weed and he puts the salt on top and mixes it up with the pepper and salt. He takes weed and puts in the salt and the pepper. He does the whole thing. He cooks the weed right there with the butter. Then he puts the thing in so the thing is live. Yeah. It was delicious. And he made crepes, which I don't like crepes. Yeah. And they were delicious. I got to tell you, I got a little buzz on.
Dude, I don't know how people can do that. I can't do that.
But I ate the one serving, and I tell you, there's been moments today when I hear,
I know.
You know what I'm saying? It's fucked up. But it's good. I'm all right with it.
The 5th, but I can't do it.
I gotta do shit. I gotta do shit. I gotta go home and do laundry and stuff like that. So
yeah.
It's just weird.
But a whole meal, like, you're not just talking about a piece of a brownie.
No, but sometimes this shit's relentless. When this shit hits you, sometimes.
Put you down.
Oh, that banana bread sometimes is relentless because you're like, I won't. This feeling just goes away. Then you eat something and it's still there for another hour, and you're like, what? I can't even focus. When I eat this shit, I can't write. Yeah. I can't focus. I can't focus when I eat the marijuana like that.
Robin emailed us. Did you see Robin's email about the cock ring.
Yes, I seen that. She ordered a cock ring
from... she ordered a cock ring from Adam and Eve and used the promotional box. Word. And now they are waiting for the cock ring. The cock ring right now is heading in their direction on a plane.
Fuck it. Yeah. Free shipping.
That's right.
So
there's
do
radiation
work.
And cock rings in the
Coming
air.
In the air, yeah. Fuck it. You know, people worried about the radiation. Fuck the radiation. That cock ring's in the mail. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
Amazing.
Anyway, so I would like to give a shout out to Robin, and I would like to give a shout out to John, also known as Cos. He wrote an amazing email, or Cuz. He wrote an amazing email about his mother, and he was your stories about your mother reminded him of things, and he had been through some tough times, and things are good, and we just want to give him a shout out and say thank you very much for emailing us, and then I noticed that you've been talking to a gentleman, Ben a couple times. Anyway, so he was in Afghanistan, and he had this friend.
Oh, okay,
yeah. You know who I'm talking about, right?
The friend,
and he had the friend, and the friend, they were in a firefight of some sort and was injured quite severely, and that he went to go visit him in the hospital, and the friend was down, and he said, listen, you should listen to Beauty and the Beast. It'll make you laugh, and if it doesn't make you laugh, I'll pay for you to have a stripper come in here and make you feel better. And so he listened to Beauty and the Beast, and he thought it was funny and inspiring. Yay! But I just want to give him a shout out, and his name is Sean. Sean, I hope you get better, and I'm so glad that we brought you at least one laugh. But I do think you should still make your friend Ben get you a fucking stripper.
Yeah,
that's kind of a lame ass move.
Fuck Beauty and the Beast.
Here's a free podcast.
Let me tell you something. The podcast helps, but a stripper will help you even more. You know what I'm saying?
Where's the stripper? You know, you cheap fuck Ben.
Nah, Ben's all right. Ben, I've read some of his emails, and it's really nice to, I've been inspired so much, and I never thought when we did this podcast that we would get those things. I never thought that people would email us and say, hey, I was having a hard time. I always knew that the stories would relate, because like I said before, everybody has some type of pain in their life.
Absolutely.
So I knew the stories would fucking relate somewhere or another, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Oh, you know what? I might have made a mistake, because there's also a gentleman named Robbie who shared a story about his mother. Anyway, but we just get these great emails, and it's inspiring to see, what people keep close to the vest, and sometimes getting something that's weighing on you into someone else's ears, even if it's a complete stranger, is a helpful thing. And we feel that way about you, and we hope you feel that way about us.
I'm going home, and the last 2 weeks have just been mind-boggling in a way, because you think about, I'm going to go home and see this guy, that guy. And with the power of Facebook, I've opened up a lot of avenues with old friends. And one of the friends was a guy, and I hate doing this on the podcast. I don't like this as a child, but when I tell the story, you don't understand why. When I was a kid, this guy sold weed. I was 13, 14, and maybe he was 17, 18. And he had a younger brother that I ran with. And nice family, real nice family. He was like not the black sheep of the family, but he knew how to rock and roll. And he became a cop one day. And the town was infuriated, because every parent knew this guy sold weed. Every parent knew. And it was, I had heard things about him. He had dated his high school sweetheart for a long time, and the parents didn't like him. So one day the parents called him over and the father and said, you can't date my daughter no more. And he goes, and she was 17. And he was 21 or something.
Oh, really?
And he goes, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just marry her. And right there, he goes, Dee Dee, would you marry me? And she said yes. And boom. 2 days later, they got married. And the parents, she never talked to the parents again. But this is all. And I heard all these stories through secondhand. And I really liked this character. So when he became a cop, unlike these other cunts in my hometown that talked about him, I was very happy for him, because I knew that he had great character. And he was just crazy. You know what I'm saying? So years later, I'm not tight with him, but I know him from the neighborhood and waves and what's up, and I like this dog growing up, and my mother dies, and I move on to his block, and he's a cop, and I knew what he was about, and every once in a while when he was off duty, he'd come over and we'd smoke a bone, and it started with us smoking a bone, and, he knew what time it was. I grew up with his brother. I was never going to say nothing. He goes, I'm a cop. If you ever tell anybody, I'm fucked. So he gave me that trust, and even as a child, I respected that. My mother had just died. This guy really liked me, and he gave me that. So, his cousin sold coke, and everybody knew his cousin worked for CBS and sold coke. So this kid would come over in the daytime because he would work midnight to 8 as a cop, and he would come over to my house like at 4, and he'd give me $100 or $60, and I'd walk to his cousin's house. I'd get a half a gram or a gram of coke. I'd walk back home and I'd hide the half a gram, and then I'd go in, do my homework, and I'd go out that night. I'd be like 15, 16, and I'd go out that night, and I'd play with my friends, whatever, go smoke pot, and then I'd come home by 11. I'd get the coke, and he'd go on shift at 12, and by 12:15, he would flash the police light in my window. And I would come out like Batman. He would give me the Batman light, and I would come out, and in the cop car with his uniform on, we go to the liquor store, and he'd go in and get me an 8-pack of Coors Light, Nips, 6 ounce. This Coors Light was the best back then. This is 1980. And we used to go to Ernie's liquor store where they were really fucking cold. Ernie used to sleep on the bar, so you could always knock on the fucking bar. Even at 5, you just knock on the bar. Who the fuck is it? It's me, Ernie. Open up, cocksucker. And you open up. You got ID. It's 5 in the fucking morning, Ernie. Nobody's looking at ID. You're not supposed to be selling beer, and I'm not supposed to be here. Just give me the fucking beer, all right?
Right.
So he would pick me up, and we'd park in a parking lot behind Big Mouth Sandwich, and it overlooked this boulevard that was very busy. And he'd sit there with the gun out, with the radar gun, and we'd just look at the speed as cars go by while we snorted coke in the cop car.
That is just terrible.
And then it got to the point where he, after like a month or two, he introduced me to his other cop buddies, and I'll never forget this scene. I remember being in his cop car in the front seat with a mirror, him in his uniform, another cop car next to us, and I would do a line and pass it to the other fucking cop car. I was 16 years old. And I'm in the car with these cops. Wow. And as I got older, I would see these cops out. They would come out to let's say something. Like the night we threw the fucking guy in the snow, the cop I would pass the coke to, he showed up. And he's like, so I would go to my friends, give me a 20, give me a 20, give me a coke rock. Joey, give me the fucking coke. So as soon as I walk out, instead of him arresting me, I just go right up to him and shake his hand.
Oh, wow.
And he'd go ahead, go in the car. You're free to go. So that night, he's the guy that got me out of that snow stuff.
Yeah.
Because he was laughing.
Yeah.
He's like, what the fuck, guy? I need this shit.
Right.
What, you holding? Yeah. All right, I'll take care of this. Listen, let them go. They're all guys from the
Oh,
neighborhood.
my God.
It'll never happen again, but it's...
But Joey, now that you're older and you think about it, they did you a little dirty. You were a kid. Especially a kid at risk. I mean, did they prey on you or just?
No, they were tremendous to me. They were my brothers. Like I'm emotional about seeing them.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this cop. He's retired now. He became a lieutenant. He's big time. And he retired, got out 2 homes. He owns this business now, a food business. And I called him and I said, I'm going to see him. We've been connecting on Facebook. He doesn't talk to his brothers. He had the same problem with his mother that I had. And I'm going to see him. And it's been an emotional week because this guy was there for me that first year after my mom died, 2 years.
So you look at it as that they were, even though you were doing this with him, they were kind of looking out for you. Is that how you're...
You say it however you want to say it. Let me tell you what I took from it. I took something from it that was more valuable to me than anything. And it made me believe that people were vulnerable. Even at that age, you don't ever hear me talk about politics because to me it goes back to that car. That's politics.
Yeah.
That's politics. That's your money. I'm not saying these guys were wrong or these guys were right. What it did for me was I looked behind the curtain as a young kid. I don't buy into it. I don't buy into a lot of things. We all cut and we all fucking bleed.
Right.
They're cops, but they're not super cops. You know what I'm saying? They protect us. And you know what? Let me tell you something. That's why I've always, whenever I read cop busts and shit, I always laugh. Because I've hung out with drug dealers. No guy just comes up to you and buys a kilo of coke and you sell it to him. That's bullshit. They had to work you. They had to do certain things to you. What would you rather have, a cop that reads the Bible or a cop that knows both sides of the fucking street? So the other point of this that's really funny was that I've never been... ever since that, I respect police and I understand where they're coming from, but it gave me a different view to it. I looked behind the curtains, even politics, because this is all my hometown's a very dirty politic town. That's how he became a cop, because in those days, if you backed the guy for mayor and he won, you got a job. You had a job for 4 years. Everybody in that town is safe every 4 fucking years. The mayor in North Bergen now has been there for 20. And he's pretty straight, and he cuts deals, but he takes care of everybody. When I was growing up, the 2 mayors I had, the Macos, shit. They were robbing with 3 hands, but you never needed for anything in that town. If I was a kid and I called across the street and say, we don't have a basketball net, it was there within 10 minutes. Some guy would be there for maintenance, hanging a net in the fucking rain for us. Our courts were spotless because his assistant, the mayor's assistant, lived across the street, and that's where his kids play. But going back to this cop story, I always loved him for that. I never uttered that story on any other podcast, on anything. I never uttered that story. I mentioned it to a few people, but it was weird. I asked him if I could mention it. I go, after 30 years, 30 years ago this was, Felicia. 30 fucking years ago. I was a kid,
That's a
Felicia.
crazy story.
I was a fucking kid,
But
Felicia.
you know what? Sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you're doing unsavory things, but it's the people. Like, I have this friend who I used to strip with, and she drives me crazy, and I drive her crazy. But just when you are with someone and you're both doing something that society isn't liking, you know what I mean? You have a
certain bond. There's an honor amongst thieves.
Yeah, absolutely. You have a certain bond, and for that, I totally respect that, and I love that you shared that story.
Oh, and as a kid, like, I always thought about that. Like, I had all these little things that I had seen that, I don't know, it helped me. Seeing that at a young age helped me for later on. Like, I don't know how to describe it right now at this time. I have to think about it because I didn't think I was ever going to tell this story. But that's one thing that just showed me that people were very vulnerable, that we all cut, we all bleed. I was in shock for a while. But these cops were wild. This was Copland at this time.
I'm sure,
where they got, first of all, where they shot Copland is Edgewater, New Jersey. I used to go to Edgewater all the fucking time to do my deals. Right there where they cut off, that's HB Diner. That place where they were, HB Diner was owned by my friend Fernando Basasudo, a Cuban Puerto Rican kid. His mother made chicken like Juana, the best fucking fried chicken in the world. Fernie was one of my dogs for years. Lately, on My Life, they have a mylife.com.
Right.
My Life, every time I click to it, somebody says somebody's been thinking of you. I click onto it. They say Fernando Basasudo's been thinking of me. I haven't spoken to Fernie since he lost $25,000 in the Super Bowl in 1983. But when they shot Copland, they took that idea from North Bergen. North Bergen was a very political, we do what the fuck we want. The cops get finances on their houses, but now they're slaves to the town. Like, if you want to be a cop in my hometown, you got to live in the town. You can't live somewhere else and be a cop in my hometown. That's unaccepted. There was 5 situations where I would pop out of a bar. The cops in North Bergen would have the place surrounded, and I would see one of those cops in the circle. And I'm telling you, honest to God, usually I'm good with names. I don't remember none of the names of none of those cops, except the one that used to pick me up at night. But I remember every time there was a problem, they come to shake us down. I'd look at one of those cops, and they look at me, and they just tell me, like, give me 5 minutes. We'll get you off this wall, okay? And they come over to put your hands down. It's okay. You got anything on you? It's in my pocket. Just leave it there. And they go, all right. Hey, listen, he's clean. I know him. All right, boom. I get it.
No, I totally believe you. Since the incident at the Ice House, when you got out of there, and I was like, where did Joey go? I bet you get out of situations pretty quick, right?
With cops and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I told you the story when I put the Coke rock, and there's 20 guys there, and I just mysteriously fucking disappeared in the air. Poof!
No,
Poof!
you
like
can disappear, Joey. I swear to God.
That is, let me tell you something, that is a gift. First of all, I hate to repeat this, but all my life I hated saying goodbye. I had so much death in my life, I hate saying goodbye to people. And then I watched the movie John Q, and he uses that. It's not goodbye, it's so long. So now I couldn't say it out in public. But I always have a superstitious. I don't like saying goodbye to people. I'd rather just slip out for you to call me later. Where'd you go?
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
When
you can disappear.
Oh my God. And you never see me with Coke in my pocket. See, I'm like Jesus Christ. AD and BC. You know what I'm saying? Before Coke and after Coke. It's like I told you the other night. I used to take guys, and I kid you not, I would have a gig in San Diego at 10. I leave LA at 8, and I make it there by 10. It's 2 hours. My drug dealer used to close at 1. The show would start at 10. No guest sets, bitch, because I got to make it back to LA by 1. No guest sets. Joey, no. I would make everybody stick to their time. Before the fucking go on stage, Joey, stick to your fucking time, cocksucker.
I know, you're kind of funny, Joey, when it comes to shows.
Like,
when you're doing a show, it's like,
my
Joey,
head.
am I opening, Joey? Am I going to be the middle?
Relax,
and then
relax. What are you worried about?
2 seconds before the show starts, you're headlining. What? I thought I was going to open. You were telling me the other day, you were saying how you would get down to San Diego and back so fucking quick.
Right.
Because you were all coked up.
No, it wasn't all coked up.
But the other day you were saying to me when you had the improv gig that it took you forever to get home because you're not all speedy.
Yeah, no, not because I was all speedy, because he would close at 1. So if I got out of there, I would even fill up the tank before I got to the comedy gig. I'm a professional. Even if I had to borrow $10 from Terry, I had enough gas to get me to the fucking drug dealer's wall. You understand? As long as I get to the drug dealer's door, fuck it. He lived 2 blocks from La Brea. So I could walk to La Brea and come back with a fucking gas tank. By that time, I got a rock in my nose. I could jump up and down. But if they would put that money in my pocket, I knew I had an hour and a half to get home. Do you know I used to make it back from San Diego in an hour 30, an hour 25?
No, I believe it.
90. I would do 90 from the time I left San Diego to the immigration stop. And then right from there to Irvine, you could open it up. There ain't a cop in existence. From there to Irvine, I would do 100, 110. Once I hit Irvine, I slow it down to like 75. And once I see the LA sign that says 19 miles, I'd pick up the fucking phone and say, D, wait for me 10 minutes. You know, motherfucker, you got to be here by 1, dog. Please, I got cash tonight. This ain't a front. Just wait for me. I got cash. I know I owe you from the other night. I'll give it to you tonight, all right?
Yeah.
No, just wait for me, cocksucker. And as soon as he tell me he was ready to go and I'd hang up that phone and you see that LA 19 miles, you could feel that shit coming out of your asshole because once you know coke is coming, your stomach starts playing tricks on a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden you're farting, you got to roll the window down. Science!
Oh, no.
I get to Dante, whatever his name was, in an hour and 25 minutes. And I wasn't jazzed up. I would never do coke and drive. Do you know that?
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, really?
I'm so, no.
Oh, I didn't know.
No, I couldn't drive and I lose it.
Oh, it wasn't the coke that made you drive fast.
It was knowing that he closed that
one.
I had. It's like the night I mugged the chick at the fucking Japanese hotel downtown. Remember when I was eating her pussy and I went through her pockets and took the $100 bill out?
Oh, I
Once I had 10 minutes to shoot. I told that bitch I gotta go put a quarter in the meter. She goes, come back, fuck you. I did 100 to Don Sleazy's that night. I made it there by 3 after 1. I gave him an extra 100 that I owed him. Oh, once you put the money in my pocket, there ain't a red light that can stop Joey.
Oh, Joey.
This is how bad it got towards the end. I've told you this. I would go to his house after a gig. I would just take a gig for the money. I could care less where it was, who it was with, how many minutes I was doing. Once I got off that stage, all I thought about was that fucking package. Like, you couldn't even talk to me about math or, hey, you want to do a gig on Friday? That's great. Call me tomorrow. Pew! I would get over there. As I'm pulling up on his block, I call him. He'd come out. I'd give him the $60. He'd give me a gram of coke. I drive down to DeLong Prairie, and as I was driving with one hand, I'm crushing the coke rock in the other, crushing it. And then I make the left turn, and when I would get to Highland, I would fold up a $1 bill. Even if it was the last $1 bill, I fold it up, and I put it in the bindle, and I leave it there till I get to Sunset. Remember where I used to live right there? So once I got to Sunset, and I made that right to Sunset. Yeah. Right before I met that left onto Schrader, I would put that $1 bill in my nose and snort that whole thing in one line. Like a fucking soldier, you know what I'm saying? Oh one fucking line. I could feel my eyeball ready to pop out.
My eyeball wants to pop out.
Oh my God. That's why now crazy. I think my left eye is stronger than my right eye because I did more samples on my left because your right's always clogged up from the night before, you know what I'm saying? So I would do the whole fucking gram in one shot. By the time I went through my garage and turned the ignition off, my jaw was already gone and I would have to run upstairs and take a shit. If Terry was up, I would just run in and say, go to bed. And I'd just lock the door and go there and shit for an hour.
That was a tiny apartment.
That was a tiny apartment. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. I got you out of shit. I ate some bad Chinese food. Go to bed.
Wow, that is a crazy story, Joey.
Crazy fucking shit. That's it.
But did you enjoy that part of it? That to me
Are you
is
fucking
like
kidding
the worst
me?
part.
That is what I'm telling you. That addiction is a motherfucker. You know, somebody told me once, insanity, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again with the same results.
Right.
There was the same result. Dead dick and I take a shit. And I make believe I'm fucking, who used to write when he used to get coked up?
Dick
Who used to write when he get coked up?
Shit.
There was a famous writer that used to get coked up and write. A couple of them. Oliver Stone wrote Scarface after he cleaned up.
Oh, they all do, right? They all must.
But I always thought that if I snorted coke, I'd become like Hemingway and write all this brilliant shit. I'd wake up the next morning, it was cocaine glophics. I couldn't even understand the fucking words. It was like Colombian writing mixed with Maya and fucking all this Indian shit from the fucking ruins and shit from that Colombian. I couldn't even read. It was just such an amazing experience the last 10 years that you just keep doing the same thing. You're a creature of habit, you know. Yeah. And as long as you accept that now.
But you talked about, look, it's an addiction, absolutely. But it's also, you were addicted to just the hustle, right?
That whole thing I just told you. Yeah. That whole movement
the
I
whole
told
hustle.
you. I was addicted to that
Is that
whole
how you
move.
Say it?
Yeah, that whole move. I was addicted to putting that $1 bill in the thing and cutting somebody off and just knowing. And then one day I was like, what is the thrill? It's like Ozzy Osbourne and Sabotage, the thrill of it all.
Yeah.
What the fuck am I doing this for? I'm trying to put this together, and I'm
Right.
killing myself with this shit. Again, Ozzy Osbourne, fucking Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. Killing yourself to live. You know what I'm saying? Skin Industries, you bad motherfucker. A leader in athletic apparel. Go to skinindustries.com. Also, Beauty and the Beast t-shirt is available.
It is so available.
Go to the link,
We're
click
not
on.
fucking with you. It's available.
You're supporting us. We support you, cocksucker. And Adam and Eve, sexual toys and .com. Go to Adam and Eve and order something. You get it free shipping. You get a free movie, free lube. You get a finger sent to you in the ass. And you get free shipping. Who is better than them?
And by the way, write to us and tell us about it, because it's fun to think that there is a cock ring hurtling in space because because of us.
Have you ever had a cock ring fellation?
Not hurtle in space. You know what? I have never. You know, I used to do a joke when I first started doing comedy, like when I was 22, and I used to have this big bangle, on my bracelet, and sometimes during my set when I was dying, I would slip it off and throw it on the floor and go, "Oh, my boyfriend's cock ring." That's how bad I was at writing jokes. But no, I've never tried one. But the activity partner and I, we ordered one of those ones that you put on. We haven't tried it yet, and it has a little vibrator. It's like made out of elastic, and it has a little vibrator that hits on your clit as he's fucking. Boy,
well,
I hope he doesn't listen to this episode.
That is a tremendous episode of Beauty and the Beast. Thank you for listening.
I'm telling you, that's some crazy shit
going on. That's crazy. Have a great week. We love you. Felicia, give him a kiss.
Mwah.
Mwah. Stay black, guys.